When they found my sister, she was a mess, covered in blood. Skin rotting off her bones and patches. Turns out this city had birthed a new serial killer. And my sister, Mia, was the only one who actually managed to crawl away from him alive. Cops were all over me. The killer is definitely coming back to finish the job, they warned. You need to stay glued to her side 24/7. I looked at the detective and asked, how many bodies has this psycho dropped? 9. I let out a cold laugh. 9? And you call that a serial killer? Compared to my track record, that number is a rookie stat. It wouldn't even cover the interest on my ledger. I rushed to the ICU. Mia was still fighting for her life. A few plainclothes detectives were huddled outside, looking grim when they heard the next of kin was here. Lead investigator walked over to debrief me. But the moment he looked at my face, he froze. Jax, the hell are you doing here? I didn't expect to run into Miller. We were classmates back in the day, before life took us down very different roads. While I was making a name for myself in the gray zones of the underground, Miller, fresh out of the academy, had his eyes on me. He'd been trying to pin a felony on me for years. If that doesn't make us mortal enemies, I don't know what does. I glanced toward the ICU doors. I'm visiting my sister, obviously. Miller's eyes widened. The girl in there. She's your sister. He took a few seconds to process the absurdity of it. A duty called. He sighed and gave me the rundown. The guy who did this to Mia is a high IQ sociopath with antisocial personality disorder. We're throwing everything we have at the manhunt. Since your sister is the only survivor, we're betting he's coming back to tie up loose ends. We'll have units posted here day and night. But you family members need to stay vigilant. I nodded, genuinely curious. So bodies, how many? 9. I smirked. That's it. That's what passes for a maniac these days. Detective Miller's face darkened. He grabbed my arm and pulled me aside. Jax, listen to me. Your sister was brutalized. I get it. I understand you're pissed. You need to cooperate with the NYPD. Do not go rogue. Do not give me more paperwork. I stared at him, calm as still water. My sister is lying in there looking like raw meat. Before Miller could respond, his radio crackled. Captain, we got a situation on the 3rd floor. Violent riot. You need to come down here now. Anyone hurt? Everyone's hurt. But not the medical staff. Some random civilian stepped up and beat the living hell out of the rioters. Blocked them in the stairwell. 20 guys, Captain. All of them are laid out. The stairwell looks like a slaughterhouse. What, all right, on my way. Miller hung up and his eyes dropped to my hands. My knuckles were split, stained with dried blood. I shrugged casually. They were blocking the stairs. I needed to get through. Just taught them some manners. No need to thank me, Miller. Miller shook his head, muttering as he walked away. That killer messed with the wrong family. Poor bastard doesn't know what kind of trouble he's in. Mia survived, but after she woke up, she was broken. She was terrified of everyone, flinching at shadows. Cops couldn't get a damn thing out of her about the killer. On the way to the hospital, I grabbed some cinnamon rolls from that bakery she loved as a kid. Truth is, Mia and I aren't exactly close. Same dad, different moms. My mom died early and nobody gave a damn about me. I learned to throw a punch before I learned to read. Growing up, Mia mostly saw me covered in blood after back alley brawls. She's always been terrified of me. Later, my old man and her mom died in a car wreck. Just like that, I became the only family she had left in this godforsaken world. Mia is weird. She's scared of me. But she always wants to see me. Before this happened, she'd call me timid, voice shaking, asking when I'd be done with work so I could come home for dinner. She'd say she learned new recipes she didn't know. I just didn't want to see her. Until now. Ding. The hospital elevator doors slid open, snapping me back to reality. A guy in a black hoodie and a low baseball cap brushed past me, heading out. As I walked in that split second, the hairs on my neck stood up. It was the scent of a predator recognizing another wolf in the flock. The guy sensed it, too. He turned his head slightly. I didn't see his face, just the corner of his mouth, curling up into a smirk under the brim of his hat. The doors closed. My gut screamed danger. I sprinted toward Mia's room. Sure enough, scream tore through the hallway. Mia. Inside the room. Mia was clutching her head, screaming in agony. The nurses were shaking in the corner. What the hell happened? I barked. A nurse pointed a trembling finger at a fruit basket on the floor. Said some guy claiming to be a classmate engaged. Dropped it off. Inside the basket was a note scrolled in sloppy handwriting. I'm coming back for you. Next to it was a drawing of a smiling clown face. I turned to the nurse. Is the guy wearing a baseball cap? Yes. How did you know? I looked out the window down below. The guy in the hoodie was hailing a cab. Before he got in, he looked up right at this window like he knew I was watching a taunt. Mia's screaming turned into sobbing. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at me, eyes filled with pure terror. Jax, where were you? Why didn't you come sooner? I'm so scared. I looked at my little sister, tortured and broken. A rage I hadn't felt in years ignited in my chest. Don't be scared, I whispered, my voice dropping an octave. Anyone in this world who wants to hurt you, I'll make them pay 1,000 times over. When Miller and his squad burst in, I was already on the phone with my crew. If the badges couldn't catch him, I'd handle it my way. Street justice. Suddenly, Miller snatched the phone out of my hand. 2 officers behind him stepped up. Cuffs ready, Jax. We got a tip about illegal racketeering. Here's the warrant. Read it and weep. Unless you got questions, come take a ride with us. Stared at Miller coldly. I didn't know what game he was playing. Seriously, Miller? There's a serial killer on the loose and you're arresting me? Miller gave me a tight fake smile. This is a hospital. Let's not make a scene. We can chat downtown. In the interrogation room, Miller finally dropped the act. Sorry about the theater, Jax. My team has a lead on the killer. We're in pursuit. We'll have him in cuffs soon. I dragged you here to keep you on ice. We can't have you going vigilante and messing up the investigation. Leave the police work to the police. I cursed internally. Idiot Miller keeping me. Here is exactly what's going to make this messy. Miller slammed his hands on the table, leaning in. Violence doesn't solve problems, Jax. The law does. Just sit tight. As long as you don't interfere. We'll get him. Later that afternoon, Miller's phone rang. He looked at me with a smug, "I told you so" expression. See? That's probably the booking confirmation. But when he picked up, the color drained from his face. His voice trembled. "Say that again." He tried to keep his voice down. But I was sitting right there. I heard enough. The two plainclothes officers chasing the suspect dead. KIA-1 was found hanging in a stairwell. Throat slit ear to ear, drained like a pig car. The other took 17 stab wounds. Every single one lethal. The killer used their blood to write a message on the floor. The last prey survived. I'm very angry. Consider this a small punishment. Miller hung up, his face a mask of pure fury. I crossed my arms and stared him down. So Detective Miller, you going to solve this with the law? How's that working out for your boys? Miller glared at me, seething. Just then my phone lit up. Yeah, boss. My lieutenant's voice crackled. We tracked the psycho's movement. He just wasted 2 cops and slashed a delivery driver's throat. He swapped clothes with the driver. He's dressed as a delivery guy. And he's heading straight for the hospital. I hung up and stared daggers at Miller. Well, detective. What's the play? Miller looked frantic. I don't report to you. I lowered my head. Voice deadly quiet. Miller. That's my sister. If she gets hurt again because of your incompetence, you know what I'm capable of. Miller bit his lip torn. Finally, he turned around and waved his hand. Cut him loose. A rookie cop piped up. Captain, we can hold him for another 15 minutes before the 24-hour mark. Miller snapped, Are you blind? His lawyers have been in the lobby for an hour. Let him go. I walked out of the cell. Miller leaned in close, whispering, Jax. There's a line we don't cross. You promised me. I shoved his to his cruiser. Detective, give me a lift. Don't worry. I won't get in your way. Miller rolled his eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. Get in at the hospital. Miller stayed downstairs to coordinate the perimeter. I took the elevator straight up to Mia's floor. When I reached the 13th floor, the elevator stopped. Guy in a delivery uniform rushed in. Head down, face hidden. But he carried a faint metallic smell. Iron blood, not a scent an ordinary person carries. He walked behind me, canceled my floor and hit the button for basement level 3. Then he pulled a blade from his sleeve and pressed the cold steel against my throat. The cold steel pressed against my throat didn't make me flinch. If anything, it was familiar. A comfort. It meant the game was finally on. Don't move, the delivery guy whispered. His voice was raspy, like he'd been screaming or smoking for days. Or I'll open you up right here. I looked at his reflection in the polished steel doors. He was average height, wiry. But his eyes, they were dead. Flat, black voids. The eyes of someone who had seen the abyss and decided to move in. You're making a mistake, I said calmly. Shut up. He pressed harder. A thin trickle of blood ran down my neck. Basement 3. The morgue. Fitting, right? For you, maybe. He chuckled. It was a wet, ugly sound. You think you're tough? I've gutted cops. I've skinned girls. You're just a speed bump. Is that right? I shifted my weight slightly. And what about the girl on the 13th floor? Mia? His breath hitched. Just for a fraction of a second. But that was all I needed. How do you know her name? He hissed. Because I'm her brother, I said. And you touched what belongs to me. The elevator dinged. Basement 3. The door slid open to reveal a dimly lit corridor, smelling of formaldehyde and cold air. He shoved me forward. Move. I stumbled out, feigning weakness. He followed, confident, arrogant. That was his flaw. He thought fear was universal. He didn't know that some of us had burned out our fear glands years ago. As we turned the corner toward the loading dock, he reached for his radio to signal someone. No, he worked alone. He was checking the time. Now. I spun around. My movement was a blur. I caught his wrist, the one holding the knife, and twisted. Snap. He screamed as the bone broke. The knife clattered to the floor. But he was fast. Faster than I expected. He ignored the pain and swung his other fist, aiming for my temple. I ducked, driving my elbow into his ribs. He grunted but didn't go down. We traded blows in the sterile hallway. He fought like a feral animal, biting, scratching, going for the eyes. I fought like a machine. Precision. Leverage. He managed to kick me back, creating distance. He scrambled for the knife. Who are you? He panted, blood dripping from his nose. I'm the guy who's going to end your streak, I said, cracking my knuckles. He laughed again, manic this time. You think you can stop me? I'm not alone. The city loves me. It feeds me. He pulled something from his pocket. A detonator? No. A flashbang. He threw it. Bang. The world went white. My ears rang. I stumbled, blinded. When my vision cleared, he was gone. The loading dock doors were swinging shut. I ran to them, kicking them open. The alleyway was empty, save for a black van peeling out onto the main road. I memorized the plate number. New York, 784, K9. I pulled out my phone. Miller, I said when he picked up. He's in a black van. Plate K9. Heading east. Jax? Are you okay? Where are you? Morgue. He got away. But Miller, he's hurt. Broken wrist. Ribs cracked. He won't go far. Stay there. Miller shouted. Do not pursue. I hung up. Stay there. Not a chance. Chapter 2, The Hunter and the Hunted. I went back up to Mia's room. She was asleep, sedated. The nurses were hovering, terrified. I sat by her bed. Her face was a map of bruises and stitches. One eye was swollen shut. Her arm was in a cast. I remembered when she was 5. She fell off her bike and scraped her knee. She cried for an hour until I put a Hello Kitty Band-Aid on it. Now, a Band-Aid wouldn't fix this. Only blood would. My phone buzzed. It was my lieutenant, Marcus. Boss, we ran the plate. Stolen vehicle. Registered to a dead guy in Queens. But we got a ping on traffic cams. He ditched the van near the old meatpacking district. The slaughterhouse? I asked. Yeah. Abandoned since the 90s. Lots of tunnels. Perfect for a rat. Meet me there. Bring the boys. And bring the heavy gear. Copy that. What about the cops? Let Miller chase his tail. This is personal. I kissed Mia's forehead. Sleep tight, kiddo. The monster won't be under the bed when you wake up. I left the hospital. Miller was in the lobby, arguing with a SWAT team leader. He saw me and marched over. Jax. You're bleeding. I cut myself shaving, I said, wiping the blood from my neck. We found the van, Miller said. Meatpacking district. We're setting up a perimeter. Good luck with that. It's a maze down there. Jax, I swear to God, if you go there. I'm going home, Miller. To take a shower. I walked out. I hailed a cab. Meatpacking district. The driver looked at me. Buddy, you sure? It's a ghost town. Just drive. Chapter 3, The Slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse loomed against the night sky like a rotting carcass. Windows broken, graffiti covering the brick walls. It smelled of rust and old death. Marcus and 4 of my best guys were waiting in the shadows. They were armed. Silenced pistols. Knives. He's inside, Marcus whispered. We saw movement on the 2nd floor. Thermal scope picked up a heat signature. Is he alone? Hard to tell. But there's heat coming from the basement too. Could be hostages. Or bait. We split up. Marcus, take the basement. Benny, Sal, cover the exits. I'm going up. Boss, he's a psycho. Let us handle it. He touched my sister, I said. He's mine. I entered through a side door. The inside was a labyrinth of hanging hooks and conveyor belts. The silence was heavy, oppressive. I moved silently, my boots making no sound on the concrete. I went up the rusted stairs. 2nd floor. The kill floor. The space was open, vast. Moonlight filtered through the shattered skylights. And there he was. Sitting in the center of the room, on a crate. He had wrapped his wrist in duct tape. He was smoking a cigarette. I knew you'd come, he said, not turning around. You left a trail, I said, stepping into the light. He turned. His face was pale, sweaty. But that smirk was still there. The police are outside, he said. I can hear the sirens. You kill me, you go to jail. You let me live, I go to a psych ward for a few years, write a book, and get out on good behavior. Then I find your sister again. He stood up. He held a detonator in his good hand. Or, he smiled, we both go out with a bang. The whole building is rigged. C4. Stolen from a construction site. I stopped. You're bluffing. Am I? 9 bodies, Jax. You think I did that with just a knife? I like variety. He thumbed the switch. Let's see who's faster. You or the blast wave. I looked at him. He wanted to die. He wanted the glory of a suicide bomb. You want to play a game? I asked. I love games. Put the detonator down. Man to man. Knives only. If you win, you blow the place. If I win, well, you won't care. He considered it. His ego was his weakness. He thought he was the apex predator. Fine, he said. He set the detonator on the crate. He pulled a new knife from his boot. A karambit. Curved blade. Nasty. Come on then, big brother. He lunged. This fight was different. He was injured, desperate. I was angry, focused. He slashed at my chest. I dodged, the blade tearing my jacket. I kicked his knee. He buckled but rolled away. Is that all you got? He taunted. I didn't speak. I moved. I parried his next strike and drove my fist into his broken ribs. He howled. I grabbed his arm, the broken one, and twisted it again. He dropped the knife. I swept his legs. He hit the floor hard. I was on him in a second. My hands around his throat. This is for Mia, I whispered. He gagged, clawing at my face. His eyes bulged. The light in them flickered. Do it, he choked out. Make me a martyr. I tightened my grip. I wanted to. God, I wanted to squeeze until his neck snapped. But then I heard sirens. Close. If I killed him, I went away for life. Mia would be alone. Again. I released him. He gasped, sucking in air. Weak, he wheezed. You're weak. No, I said, standing up. I'm smart. I picked up the detonator. You rigged the building? I asked. Yes, he grinned, blood on his teeth. One click. Good. I walked to the window. I saw the SWAT team assembling below. Miller was there with a megaphone. I looked back at the killer. You want fame? I asked. You want to be remembered? I tossed the detonator to him. He caught it, confused. Go ahead, I said. Be famous. I turned and ran. I sprinted for the stairs. Behind me, I heard him laugh. A high, broken sound. Then, the click. Chapter 4, The Blast. I dove out the side door just as the shockwave hit. The explosion was massive. It tore the roof off the slaughterhouse. Fireball rose into the night sky, illuminating the city. Debris rained down like hail. I hit the ground, covering my head. Silence followed the roar. Then, the shouting started. Officer down. Fire in the hole. I stood up, dusting off the ash. Marcus ran over to me. Boss. You okay? I'm fine. Is everyone out? Yeah. We cleared the basement. No hostages. Just dummies dressed up to look like bodies. Sick bastard. He's gone, I said, looking at the burning inferno. Miller ran up to me, face soot-stained. Jax. Did you see him? Was he inside? He was, I said. He blew himself up. Suicide by C4. Miller stared at the fire. Jesus. Why? He didn't want to go back in a cage, I lied. He wanted to go out a legend. Miller looked at me suspiciously. And you just escaped? Lucky, I guess. Miller shook his head. You're the luckiest son of a bitch I know. Go see your sister. Chapter 5, The Recovery. Mia woke up 2 days later. She didn't remember the attack. Retrograde amnesia. The doctors said it was a blessing. I sat by her bed every day. I fed her soup. I read to her. "Jax," she said one afternoon, looking at my bruised knuckles. "Did you fight someone?" "Just a punching bag," I smiled. "You look different," she said softly. "Less scary. Maybe I'm getting soft in my old age." "I like it," she whispered, squeezing my hand. The news was full of the slaughterhouse bomber. They called him a monster. They said the city was safer now. Miller closed the case. But he stopped by the hospital one day. "Off the record," Miller said, handing me a coffee. "Forensics found the detonator. It was in his hand. But the safety pin, it was found across the room." I sipped my coffee. "Interesting." "Yeah. Almost like someone pulled it for him, then gave it back." Miller looked at me. I looked at him. "Justice is blind, Miller," I said. "Yeah. Sometimes she is." He patted my shoulder. "Take care of her, Jax." Epilogue. 6 months later. Mia was out of the hospital. She had scars, physical and mental, but she was healing. She started painting again. Dark, abstract stuff at first, then lighter. Flowers. Sunsets. I sold the logistics company. I went legit. Fully legit. Security consulting. High-end. We moved to a new apartment. Penthouse. High security. One night, we were on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. "Jax," Mia said. "Do you think he's really gone?" "Who?" "The clown man." I put my arm around her. "He's gone, Mia. Ash and dust." "Good," she said. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I feel safe with you." I looked at the city. Somewhere out there, new monsters were being born. New threats. But they wouldn't touch her. Not while the Reaper was watching. "You are safe," I promised. Always. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just a fighter. I wasn't just a survivor. I was a brother. And that was enough. The end.